Okay, we're gonna try this again now. Here we go. Let's see. That's off, that's off, that's off, that's on, that's on, that's live. Alright, I think we're good to go. Hello! Shadowcat back with more Pokemon. Yes, we're back to doing this. Last time we finished up the trainer stuff. Today we're moving on to moves. And today I'm also trying to fix this avatar program, which is not working, apparently. Yeah, it's not working at all. Okay, well, I mean, I tried. At least I have an off switch this time. So I can turn off the tracking, and that's going to stop the arms from flailing around. But it also kind of stops everything else. So this is kind of the best that I'm going to be able to do at the moment, unfortunately. Oh well, live and learn, and then work on something else. So that was short-lived. Didn't even make it like 2 minutes into the stream. Oh well. Anyway, like I said, we're doing moves today. And when I say we're doing moves today, I mean that we're doing a general overview when it comes to moves. Because there's a lot of moves in the game, we are not going through every single one of them, and I don't think we have to. We're making a conversion module. We're not trying to rebuild the entire thing from the ground up. So that's how we're going to do that. So I'm going to bring in everything. We'll go over quickly what we did last time, and then we'll get into the new stuff. But before we do that, of course, I do have people in the chat. Blizz is here. And good to see you here, Blizz. JP is here. Good to see you too. JP says, do we need a U-Haul? No, I don't think we do. I don't think we need a U-Haul for this one. And if you're in California, good luck getting one anyway. Because, like, I heard that they're non-existent there. Okay, though, let's go ahead and get into this. So the first thing we're going to need is going to be the browser. And we're going to need to have our spreadsheet. Good thing it's the right spreadsheet this time. There are no guarantees. It could have been the wrong one. Alright, so like I said, we'll go over quickly what we did last time, and then we'll move on. So the last time we were here, we went ahead and we took care of the rest of the type properties. All of our types are done. They look really good. I'm really excited for what each type is going to bring to the table. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where when you come across a Pokemon either in the wild or from another trainer, it's going to be really interesting when you see just what comes out, because you may not know what moves they have. But just inherently by them being a certain type, you'll be able to expect things. Like, in the case of fire, electric, and ice types, since it changes their damage types from just regular, damage to either fire, electric, or cold, you know that you're either in for a good time or a bad time, depending on what type of Pokemon you have. We got into the actual trainer types. Since this is going to be able to integrate into various different settings, we can disable or enable whatever different classes that we want. So we can disable pretty much all classes and just make everybody Pokemon trainers or common people. And so that should be pretty easy there. Either way, though, handle animals becoming a universal skill so that everyone's going to be able to use it, because everybody will need it to handle Pokemon. Everyone is going to get a type. You will have difficulties training Pokemon who are opposed to you. So, if you are a grass type, you're going to struggle to train fire, flying, bug, ice, and poison types. Which, seems like they're going to really dissuade a lot of grass trainers. But hey, grass trainers, and I am a grass trainer, we're persistent. So when trying to use a Pokemon with the opposing type, you got to use your Handle Animal skill. It's really simple, though. It's just Handle Animal is DC 10 plus their level divided by 5. Super simple. Now, that does mean that it starts off as a coin toss and it gets worse. However, you also have to keep in mind that your level is going up too. Let's see. We are going to be sticking with the 4 moves. So you have to pick 4 moves, and the thing is that you will be able to change them out. It's just that you'll have to change them out like you do with wizard spells, or spells in general. You'll be able to pick what 4 moves you want at the beginning of that day. However, we established that just because you have to pick 4 moves does not mean that your Pokemon has forgotten those. And so you can do a push. By pushing an animal, you roll a Handle Animal DC 25, and you can get them to use a move that they know, but that is not prepared. And so that's great. And if it is opposed to you, you're going to have to roll both things in the same move. We handled that you can learn new moves by TM. You still have to find and buy it. You have to use Handle Animal. It's going to be a DC 10 plus the move's power divided by 10, which, you know, can be significant. DC 10 plus the move power divided by 10 for them to learn it, and you only get to make 1 attempt per day. Now, you only need a single success, so that's good. But it's still going to be a thing. Okay. Oh, just got a notification. It's okay. I can ignore that for right now. Alright, so today we're going to be getting into moves then. Because now we know how we're going to be handling our Pokemon. Now we got to actually teach them things and get them to use them. I'll see that Jeffrey is in chat this morning. Hello, Jeffrey. Good to see you here. Now, when getting into all the moves, we're going to have to actually take a look at the moves. And I've got them pulled up here. So, oh wow. Should have read this before I posted everything. As of Generation 9, there are 934 different moves. I thought it was only like 700 and some. Wow. 934 different moves in the core series games. This number does include all of the G-Max moves and considers the physical and special versions of each Z move as the same move. This page contains every move in the games in order of their index number, categorized by the generation in which they are debuted. Well, G moves and things like that is not something we have to worry about because I'm not building in all the special, well, let's just say the stupid things in each one of the games. And I hate to phrase it that way, but I don't like gimmicks. I've never really liked gimmicks. And a lot of the later Pokemon games have had gimmicks in them. Like, I remember that, let's see, Pearl didn't have a gimmick as far as I know. But I think it was immediately after that, whatever came next, is when they started adding in things like Mega Evolution, X Evolution, Gigantamax Evolutions, things like that. And even in Scarlet Violet, they introduced the whole Terra thing. Terra type, Terrestrialize, something like that. And I didn't even really use it that much. I did sometimes, but let's be honest. Every single time I used the Terra ability, it was to crush an opponent that I was already beating. I can't think of a single instance where I used it, and it really made the difference. So, I don't know. We're not dealing with any of that, though. I'm not throwing it in here. It is one of those things where, depending on the setting, it might come in. Because we do have maps. We can use them. If we were to have something set in, like, say, Unova... Well, I don't actually know what the thing for Unova was, but I'm sure there was a thing. point is, I could include it in that area if we were doing that. In general, though, no. So the moves that we're going to be dealing with are just the regular moves. That's the idea. And, I mean, you can see down here, it's all organized by which generation it came from. And we have pretty much all the information that we need. Now, in terms of information that we need and what we need to translate. First off, we've got the number. Don't care about the number. We've got a name. Names are important. We have typing. Typing is actually going to be very important because we're going to have to talk about things like weakness and resistance. So we got to get into that. PP. PowerPoints. That is something that I'm not sure if we really even need. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe we do. In general, though, for most moves, it's not a big deal. I mean, you take the first example right here, pound. Pound has 35 uses. That's a lot of uses. It's probably not something that we need to worry about, but we'll think. We'll think about it. We could treat them like spell slots, where if you're a wizard, you get a certain number of spell uses per day. Actually, in this case, I think it'd be more like a sorcerer, because you can pick them. But we could do that. We could also make our own system where we actually give spell slots. And so your Pokemon might know a certain number of moves per day and only be able to use a certain number of moves per day. It's possible. We can think about it. Power. Power is exactly what you think it is. Although we'll have to work on a few things here. And then, of course, accuracy. I don't see accuracy really being a thing for us. The reason being is that in the game, accuracy is really important. I don't know exactly what move it's tied to, but the accuracy of your moves is really important. In Tabletop, in Pathfinder, Starfinder, and all that, it's handled by a simple D20 roll. And that D20 roll is, on its own, just random chance. But then you get all kinds of things to add into it. You've got your base attack bonus, you've got your strength bonus or your dexterity bonus, and whatever else you have as well. The accuracy is not something that we're really going to need. And so I think that'll be fine. We can ignore this column. Let's see. Blizz says black and white didn't have anything, but it did start with sun and moon with the Z moves. Okay. Like I said, lots of the later ones had gimmicks, and I'm just not into the gimmicks. JP says 900 plus moves, but none of them are like Jagger. This is true. Nope, I just did a search. There are no moves like Jagger in here. It's worth a shot, though. Bliss says for some higher power, sorcerer spell slots might be wanted. Well, that's where the PP comes in. Because, I don't know some of these skills, but where's one that I might know? Hydro Pump. Here we go. This is one that I'm very familiar with. Hydro Pump is a very high level move. It has 110 power and only has 5 moves. So it is already built in. We should probably just use the numbers that are here. So, let's think about what we're doing here. Of course, we're going to need to have a name. And then after the name, now get off of OBS. After the name, we're going to need to have... Actually, let's treat these like spells. Let's treat these like spells. We're going to come to the list here. And pick... I'm going to pick Acid Splash here. Alright, so... With acid, or with any spell, you have, and I know you can't see it up here, but you have a name. Then you have a school. Okay, so for example, for Acid Splash, the school is Conjuration. But we don't have schools, so we're going to go with Type. And so we got School, we have Elemental School, we're just going to go with Typing. Next is going to be Casting Time. And Casting Time... there are only a few. There's only a few moves that have a delayed action. I mean, things like Solar Beam, where it takes one turn to charge it and then one turn to fire it. There's a few moves like that. I don't think that there's anything else that goes longer than that, with the exception of Future Sight. But even Future Sight doesn't necessarily need to be delayed. It just kind of shows up later because you use Future Sight and it happens immediately. The effect might be delayed, but you use the move immediately. And then you are free to continue using other moves until Future Sight eventually comes around. So I don't think that it really shows up. I don't think we really need to worry about the casting time here. Components. There's no such thing as components in Pokemon. Range. Range is going to be something we're going to struggle with here. Alright, the effect... it is 1 missile of acid. It describes the amount of damage the acid does down here, but that's fine. So what I'm going to say here is it's going to be damage. And then, not all spells have just a damage component. Some of them will inflict a status effect. So I'm just going to put here status effect. And then saving throws or spell resistance. So saving throw if applicable. And that should be fine. Oh, with one other caveat to add, and that's going to be how many uses you get. And let's see. JP says, okay, can you just go ahead and say PowerPoints, please? My mind is far too juvenile this morning to handle this. No, I will not. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to suffer. And PC Unicorn is in chat. Hello, PC Unicorn. Good to see you here, too. There's probably components when you cook a Magikarp. No, those are called ingredients. There's a difference. One of them is edible. I mean, have you seen the inside of a wizard spell pouch? You don't want to eat anything in there. There are some nasty things in that pouch. Alright, so we got this. And let's just go ahead and pick a random number. Uh, 1D 934. I love fake dice. 468. I went past it. 468. Here we go. 468 is Hone Claws. All right. So name is going to just be the name. Type is going to be the type. Range we'll get to. Damage is going to be 1D power. We'll get to that in a second. Status effect is going to be the status effect. Saving throws, I suppose will depend on what it is. The PP unit is going to be whatever that happens to be. We'll fill this in as we go. Alright, so, Hone Claws. It is a dark type move. It is a... It is a status move. So we've got status, physical, and special. I should probably put or make a spot for that too. And they call that category. Category. Okay. Status move. The range. This is where things are going to get a bit complicated because this is where I may have to just adjudicate these on a turn-by-turn basis. Or rather, move-by-move basis, I suppose. There it is. So, Hone Claws affects your own Pokemon. And so the range on this one is going to have to be self. You cannot Hone Claws on somebody else. Damage is none. Status effect, though. It's gonna we're gonna have to actually go into this one. It's a non-damaging dark type move. It says it does not make contact, not affected by Protect, not affected by Magic Coat. It is affected by Snatch. It is not affected by Mirror Move, and not affected by King's Rock. I feel like all those things are very important, and I may need to keep them in mind. What does it do, though? Hone Claws raises the user's attack and accuracy by 1 stage each. Okay. That is something that I need to get into. Alright, stage has several referrals for tiers of stat changes. We're going to be looking into stat modifiers and stages. That's what we're looking for. Okay. This is a bit complicated. This is something I have struggled with in the actual games. And so, I'm learning things today. The modifiers conferred by most moves operate on a sliding scale of stages, also known as stat ranks in Pokemon Masters EX. When a given stat is raised or lowered, its current stage is increased or decreased by an amount dictated by the move, up to a maximum of +6 or a minimum of -6. A given stage corresponds to a given multiplier that will multiply the stat when used in battle calculations. The exact multipliers for stages are detailed in a later section below. Note that prior to Gen 3, no stat can fall below 1 or rise above 999. Any further modifiers will be treated as if the stat was capped regardless of whether the stat was in a -6 or +6 or not. Wow. So, let's see. Prior to Gen 3, no stat can fall below 1 or rise above 999. Wait, does that mean that they can now? Is that possible? That'd be terrifying. Anyway, HP is the only one that has no stages. Dynamax is the only mechanic that can directly change their HP. In Gen 1 and 2, the core series games, when an in-game opponent outside of a battle tower uses a status move that would decrease one of the target stats, that move has a 25% chance to fail in addition to its normal chance to miss. Okay, we're not doing that. The stages of a Pokemon's stats are reset to 0 or when the Pokemon is withdrawn or affected by moves Haze or Clear Smog. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so stage multipliers. Like they were saying, it goes from 1 to 6, or rather -6 to +6. So, here's what I'm thinking. There are moves that I think can actually move these by more than one. Like Hone Claws, I think. Because it just says that it... Yeah, it says it moves your attack and accuracy up by 1 stage each. So there should be moves that will move things by 2 stages then, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. But I need to find evidence. I need to find something that, I need to find something that's going to show that. Okay, so here we go. In Generation 4, if a Pokemon's ability is simple, then its stats will be multiplied as if the stat change was doubled. For example, if a stat raised by 1 stage will then be multiplied by 2 stages. Okay. Ooh, wait, hold on. What's this table? Ooh, this is perfect! This table and anything in italics is capable of modifying 1 stat out of 2 or more. But, I mean, here we go. These are going to buff up your attack. These are defense, special attack, special defense, speed, evasion, accuracy. Oh, and by the way, there's Hone Claws right there. And acupressure. So, let's see. Pressure Point Poke is a non-damaging normal type move introduced in Gen 4. It chooses one of the target stats at random and raises it by 2 stages. Nice! Okay, so this is totally a thing that we can do. Are there any that move at 3? Well, there's Tail Glow right here for the special attacks. There's Cotton Guard here for defense. In short, though, yes, there are some that will raise it by 3. Okay, so this is fine. We don't have to actually change any of this. We just have to understand what it's going to do for us. So, for example, Hone Claws is going to be increasing the user's attack and accuracy by 1 stage each. What is that going to mean for us? In general, my initial instinct is, but it says it raises the user's attack and accuracy by 1 stage each. For our purposes, that would essentially be a +1 attack bonus. And then just say, like, +1 damage? Although +1 damage is kind of nothing when we're talking about Pokemon moves, and we'll get to that in a second. +1 accuracy, though, is actually pretty simple. That's just a basic +1 on attack rolls. As for the attack part of it... I gotta think about that one really hard, actually. How are we going to build a system that's going to do that and not break things? It needs to be... Well, I was going to say it needs to be something that scales, but at the same time... Hone Claws is not something that I imagine a lot of high-level Pokemon are using. I could be wrong about that. Maybe they are. But I don't think so. It might be one of those abilities that just kind of you grow out of and you leave it behind just because there's other moves that are better. But I could be wrong about that. I am going to make a note here, though. Actually, I may be making several notes here. Because over here in the stat modifiers, they have all these stats that get modified, and we're going to need something for all of these. So, attack, defense, special attack, special defense. Attack, defense, special attack, special, defense, speed, evasion, and accuracy. All right, let's think about this now. So speed is going to be really, really simple. Since we're operating here on a sliding scale, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be plus minus 5 feet. Okay? So if we're going from a plus or a -6 to a +6, let's say that every single time you get hit with a speed adjustment, we're going to either add or subtract 5 feet of speed. That means that if we look here and we look at speed moves, is there anything here that I actually recognize? Believe it or not, actually, no, not really. Hold on. Rock polish. I know rock polish. It's on all the Geodudes that I don't use. And I find it hilarious when they use rock polish because it just means I get a free hit in. Anyway, non-damaging rock type move. And rock polish raises the user's speed stat by 2 stages. So, if we're going with a 2-stage adjustment, that would be speed plus 5 times 2 is 10 feet. So if you've got like a Geodude or something, your normal speed might be 30 feet per round. You now get 40 feet per round. Which, you know, convenient. And Blizzstar says, have a good day. I guess that means that Blizz is out of here. Well, thank you for coming in, Blizz. It was good to see you again. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Evasion. Evasion's going to be really simple. This is going to simply be a plus or minus AC. And not just AC, but also kinetic armor class, just in case we're doing this in Starfinder. As far as accuracy, this is just going to be a plus or minus attack roll. But that still leaves the attack and defense. Okay, so this is something that's actually going to be a little bit difficult, because if I put armor class on evasion, then what do I put in defense? Technically speaking, evasion should not be... Evasion is not if you get hit. Evasion is if you don't get hit. So we're going to change this one. This is going to be a plus-minus reflex. That's evasion. That's actual evasion. Defense is going to be a plus-minus AC or KAC. Which means that special defense is probably going to be more of a will save, honestly. So, plus, minus, will. Since I have a feeling that a lot of special moves may actually take advantage of will saves, but I could be wrong about that. We're still working this out. As far as what is attack going to do, I don't know. The problem with this is if it gives us a bonus on actual damage, what do we do? Actually, let's go ahead and get into that first. Perhaps Hone Claws was the wrong one to start with. We're going to keep this, of course. But we're going to try a different move. We're going to try a different move. And this time around, we're going to start with something simple. I know. Weird concept. I'm just going to go right at the top, and we're going to start with number 1. We're going to start with pound. Okay? Pound. Very simple. We're just going to beat up on people. Type is normal. Category, physical. Range. Now, again, this, I think, is where we're going to have to be flexible. And we're going to have to look into, like, what does it even say? Pound inflicts damage with no secondary effect. Pound is affected by King's Rock in all generations. Let's see. In stadiums, this is a normal type attack, slightly stronger than tackle. Many Pokemon know this move. Pounds with its forelegs or tail. Pounds a foe with the forelegs or tail. Physical attack delivered with long tail or foreleg, etc., etc. Basically, we're just beating on people. So the range, I have to say, has got to be just melee. And we don't really have ranges for melee things. So we don't really need this handle animal anymore. We can come down here to equipment. If we come down here to equipment and look into weapons. If you have a ranged weapon, it comes with an automatic it comes with an automatic range increment. So like a brass knife, you can throw it. You can throw it 10 feet. If you've got, say, a crossbow or something, it has a range of 120 feet. Light crossbows, 80 feet. Slings, 50 feet, etc., etc. However, if it does not have a range, like if I find a sword, like here's a scimitar, the range, none. It doesn't have a range. Its range is your reach. So melee is fine. PC Acorn says, pound, special rules may only be used in Britain. But does that mean you can convert it if you go somewhere else? Do we have Pokemon move conversions now? Oh no, wait, I'm working on the move conversion. So yes, we do. Okay, well, then by degree of the fact that I'm making the conversion, I declare that pound can now be used outside of Britain. I love being the one in charge sometimes. Okay, getting back to moves, though. Pound has 35 PP. You can go ahead and fill that in here. Power, 40. Now, this is where I already kind of alluded to this before, what I was going to do with these. When we're talking about the Pokemon and what they can do, the fact is that Pokemon can have these obscene numbers of hit points. And as such, if we're going to have a fight between Pokemon that does not last 3 days straight without sleep, the Pokemon are going to have to do commensurate amounts of damage. To that end, what I believe we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the power as the size of our dice. And I do believe that's going to work out well for us. So, for example, we have Pound. Pound is a rather simple move, and we know it's a rather simple move because of how many uses it has. Because of that, it also has a lower power. What I think that means we can do this. What is power? Yeah, what is pound going to do? It's going to do 1d, and then we'll use the power, 40. Now, I'm going to do this because some of these have weird powers. Karate Chop is very simple. It does 50 power. Double Slap, however, does only 15. Now, I think that the reason that Double Slap does that is because it hits twice. Double Slap inflicts damage, hitting the target 2 to 5 times per use. There is a 37.5% chance that it will hit twice, 37.5% it hits 3 times, 12.5% chance it hits 4 times, and 12.5% chance that it hits 5 times. Okay, so it hits more than once. To that end, that means that the power is kind of variable. If it hits twice, it's a power 30 move. If it hits 3 times, it's a power 45. If it hits 4 times, it's a power 60. And if it hits 5 times, it's a power 75. Some of those work really well with dice, and some of them do not. And so to that end, we're going to have to use virtual dice. It's going to be a 1d15, and then it'll be however many times that it actually hits. So, for example, I'm just going to say 1d5. And I rolled a 5, which is going to make this really easy. We're going to make 5 attack rolls, and I'm just going to say that they all hit, which means that we're then going to roll 5d15s. Which is going to come out to 49. It was a maximum of 15. We got a 14, a 9, a 10, a 9, and a 7. So all above average. We actually rolled really well on that one. The problem is going to come in that if these Pokemon ever turn their moves on people, they could be absolutely lethal. Which, to be fair, is something that I'm actually totally on board with. One of the problems that I always have with Pokemon, particularly Pokemon the anime, the cartoon, was that you had Team Rocket. And Team Rocket were a bunch of just utter buffoons. And I never fully grasped, like even as a child, I never fully grasped why. Because you have these Pokemon, and these Pokemon that they had, I'm curious. Can I look this up? I'm gonna try looking this up. Jesse. What Pokemon did you have? I want to find out. Yeah, there's Jesse. Jesse's Team Rocket, History, Pre-Series, Pokemon. Here we go. As with the standard set by Team Rocket organization, Jessie initially starts off with mainly Poison-type Pokemon, but as the series continued onward, her team diversified. Most of her other Pokemon tend to be unusual in appearance and don't usually fit the generation image of cute. However, she does display a desire to obtain Pokemon that are considered adorable when the opportunity presents itself. But does it, list them? Okay, here we go. So, on hand, she's got Wobbuffet. I love Wobbuffet. Not because Wobbuffet is terribly strong, but because Wobbuffet has the ability to take down literally anything by simply tying its destiny in with its own. And so, if you take out Wobbuffet, it takes you down with it. And I mean, think about that. Let's just think about this as a practical application. I mean, can you imagine if you were in school and you had the ability to make it so that anything done to you is reflected back onto whoever did it to you? And so that if they push you down the stairs and, I don't know, snap your neck, they're going to get their neck snapped too. So that's kind of overpowered. Sir Viper. I mean, if nothing else, do you see the fangs on that thing? To say nothing of whatever venom that it might have. Yanma. Is that a new one from Paldea? I'm not sure. Either way, Yanma, giant dragonfly. Me personally, if that thing was flying at me, I would probably die on the spot just because I don't like bugs. Woobat. I don't know what you are, but it's a giant bat. Probably means it bites. Frillish, I have no idea what you are, but I'm sure that you do bad things. And a pubcaboo. I don't know what that is. But I mean, I was going to take this little Frillish here. Actually, no, it's just a picture. Here we go, Frillish. It's adorable. It's cute. We love it, right? What does it do? Moves used. Oh, wait, is this just hers? Oh, this is, Jessie's Frillish. Okay, so what moves does it use? Mist? Okay. Psychic, where it literally gets into your brain and just kind of kills you with an aneurysm. Bubble Beam and Shadow Ball. Bubble Beam is a move that has 20 uses and a power of 65. Let's see, it does damage, has a 33.2% chance of lowering the target's speed stat. But how do they describe it? It says here, it's a water-type attack, has a 1 in 10 chance of reducing their speed, lowers their speed, forcefully sprays bubbles that may lower speed. Let's see, spray bubbles forcibly... Okay, so it doesn't really say that much about it. Unfortunately, I was hoping to get a better description of it. But I feel like they just didn't really do that. Let me look up something. Because I'm going to pull an example here, and there's a reason why I have these examples. Hydro Pump. Okay, this is one of the big three. It's Flamethrower, Hydro Pump, and Solar Beam. Those are the big three. Charizard gets Flamethrower, Blastoise gets Hydro Pump, and Venusaur gets Solar Beam. But where is the description for it? Powerful water type attack, powerful water type, powerful, powerful, powerful. I thought they actually gave an example of the kind of damage that it would do. In the animation? Oh, I think this is just Pokemon that actually used it. Well, what I want isn't necessarily here. Alright, never mind. I'll just have to pull it from memory then. So, what I do remember, and the thing is that if you watch Death Battle, they did a knockdown drag-out fight between the three starters, and so they actually did cover all of these. The things that I remember from that episode of Death Battle is that Charizard's Flamethrower is hot enough to melt granite. Granite is one of the hardest stones on Earth. If you can melt granite, you can melt just about anything else. I mean, the melting point of granite is, I believe, higher than the melting point of steel. And the melting point of steel is higher than the melting point of titanium, I believe. So, like, Flamethrower is going to melt everything. Hydro Pump can literally carve through stone. At that point, we're talking about something that has roughly the same power as a Hydrojet cutter, except the volume of a fire hose, or bigger. And Solar Beam is just a giant laser. So, yeah, there's that. Point is, Pokemon moves are incredibly dangerous. And they have to be because Pokemon themselves are incredibly dangerous. And if you're up against a Pokemon that has several hundred hit points, then suddenly doing 49 hit points worth of damage isn't that big a deal. It does mean, however, that when two Pokemon start fighting, pretty much everybody else needs to clear out. Because things are about to get really bad. Alright, so, with Pound doing 1d40, I'm just going to roll the die here, and say, if you hit somebody with Pound, how much damage are we doing? 31 damage. That is like murder for any normal person. I'm curious. I do have my other spreadsheet here. I'm going to look at my current game that's going right now, which, by the way, since I didn't plug anything before, I guess I will now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, do that now. Hit the bell icon. That way you get notified. If you know somebody else who's also into tabletop games or Pokemon, share this out with them. Because, you know, might bring them in. Otherwise, if you just like me, you like us, you like what we're doing here, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below. You can even join us below by going to the links down below. There's a link to the Discord. Take that link. Go to the Discord. We have one. It's there. You can join us there. You can talk. You can share memes. You can do whatever. And if you want to play with us, you can do that. You join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what game you want to play, what your availability is. And as soon as I have enough people, then we'll go ahead and we'll start the game. In the meantime, though, I'm going to go ahead and show something. I probably shouldn't show this, but I'm going to show this. So this is the other spreadsheet. This is what I'm using for the Star Trek game that we currently have running. As you can see, several of the people who are in the chat today are in that game. We've got JP, we've got Jeffrey, we had a Blizz. And we have a level 3 and 2 level 4 characters here. Now, things work a little bit differently in Starfinder because in Starfinder you have stamina points and hit points. Stamina points are your ability to just kind of shrug off damage, and then hit points are actual wounds. Stamina points refill quickly, and hit points recover slowly. But if we take a look at these, and we take a look at how tough is every character, we have our first character here, Zirin. Zirin has 24 stamina points and 22 hit points. In combat, that means that you would have to get through all of those. And so, we're going to add them together. 24 and 22 is going to be 46. 46 points until Zirin is dead. Now, under normal circumstances, that's not exactly a huge deal, because most weapons are only doing 1 dice worth of damage. And even then, that dice is usually something like a D10, a D8, something, you know, reasonable like that. For one of these Pokemon doing 31 damage, that is 3/4 of all of Zirin's hit points. Well, not just hit points, but all the points. We'll take another character, Ilera. Ilera has 40 stamina points and 30 hit points. Total them together, that's 70. So again, if Ilera was to get hit by this Pokemon using Pound, which is not exactly a very powerful move, that is almost half of Ilera's hit points. The same thing goes for Darwin. 32 stamina points, 28 hit points. Put them together, that's 60. 31 damage is half of all of Darwin's points. And yet, to another Pokemon, that could be nothing. That could be a scratch. Now, this is not necessarily going to be true the entire time. I'll come back here for a minute. Since every Pokemon is going to gain hit dice as they level up, if we look at the Pokemon conversions, the Pokemon are going to be getting, depending on how many hit points they have, they'll be getting 1d4, 1d8, 1d12, etc. Which means that a fight against really, really low-level Pokemon might come down to just speed. And so, let's say that you've got... I'm going to come over here and just pick a Pokemon. I need another tab. I'm going to come over here and pick Sprigatito, because why not? It's easy. Here's Sprigatito. Sprigatito is adorable. Love Sprigatito. I even have a little Lego Sprigatito right there. Sprigatito is going to start off with Scratch. Scratch is also a Power 40 move, so it's going to do 1d40. Problem is, Sprigatito is going to get Scratch at level 1. But Sprigatito at level 1 is only going to have 1d4 hit points. Which means that if Little Sprigs here was going up against something else that was also level 1, it's going to come down to who's faster, who's more accurate, because it's going to be a one-stroke battle. Whoever gets the hit in first. Is this fair? Well, actually, there is kind of an argument for it being fair. And that is, we're going to go back to Pathfinder here. Now, Pathfinder is a little bit better than Dungeons & Dragons was. So here's a wizard, okay? This is your typical squishy wizard. They have a 1d6 hit die. Now, according to the rules, and we can also extend this to the Pokemon too, your first hit die is free. Which is to say that you get a full hit die when you level up. Now, Starfinder did away with this, and they give you a set amount of HP every time you level up. Pathfinder, you still roll for it. But everyone gets a full hit dice at the beginning. That way you don't have people that are literally made of glass. So let's say that you're a wizard, and as a wizard, you are going to prioritize your intelligence, because you need your spells. Then, if you're smart, you would prioritize your dexterity, because as a wizard, you're going to want to be using ranged attacks if you're not using spells, and you want to be harder to hit. Dexterity comes next. After dexterity is going to be a bit of a toss-up. Do you take Constitution or do you take Wisdom? Generally speaking, Constitution should be your next. Because Constitution is going to give you two things, your Fortitude save and your hit points. However, Wizards also need to have a strong will because they're often going to be the targets of spells. So you might prioritize your Wisdom instead. The end result here is that you might not have a Constitution bonus. Your Constitution bonus might be a 0. Which means that at the beginning of the game, you might only have 6 hit points. But you might be asking yourself right now, okay, so I only have 6 hit points. That's not a big deal, is it? I mean, sure, it's not a lot of hit points, but surely the things that we're fighting aren't going to really be all that dangerous either, right? Well, not necessarily. What are we going to be fighting as a level 1 party? I know something we might be fighting as a level 1 party. How about a goblin? So, genies, gnolls, ghouls, goblins, where you are. Golems, nope, too far. Here we go, goblins. Here is your typical goblin. Creature stands barely 3 feet tall, its scrawny humanoid body dwarfed by its wide, ungainly head. They have a challenge rating of 1/3. So, the way challenge ratings work, and this is a bit hard for most people to understand, so I will do my best to explain it in common terms. A challenge rating is not necessarily the level of the creature. A challenge rating is something that should be a challenge for a party of 4 people at that level. So, when I say that we have like a CR4 creature, and just for examples here, let me pull up a CR4. CR4. Let me find something here. Something that I like. Actually, no, but no, not that. Not that. That's not exactly common, but sure. Here. A Wormling Green Dragon. Now, a Wormling Green Dragon is very, very young. Okay? This is like newly hatched. It is a small dragon. Okay? So this is like not even medium sized yet. This is like fresh out the egg. It's a CR4. This would be a challenge for a party of 4 adventurers who are all level 4. Why? Because this green dragon, fresh out of its egg, would have an AC of 17. Okay? Now, what does an AC of 17 mean, really? And I'm going to go ahead and tangent into game design here, because this is all going to apply to what we're doing with the Pokemon game. What does an AC of 17 mean? For most players, it just means that's the number that I have to hit. And that's not wrong. That's absolutely true. That's the number that you need to hit. But for a game designer, you have to think in terms not just of what is the number that I need to hit, but also probabilities. Because if you give them something with an almost 0% chance of hitting, then it doesn't really matter how much damage anybody does. Everybody could be doing 1 single point of damage. But if the monster can hit every time, and your players can hit none of the time, eventually, 1 hit point at a time, they lose. So, what does this mean when it says the green dragon has an AC of 17? This means that there is a 50-50 shot of your players winning if they have an attack bonus of 7. Now, should they have an attack bonus of 7? Let's think about that. If you're a melee fighter or you are a ranged fighter, you're going to want to have either a strength bonus or you're going to want to have a dexterity bonus of a 3 or 4. So you're going to want to have either a 16 or 18 in either strength or dexterity, whichever works for you. You're also going to want to have an attack bonus, a base attack bonus of 3 or 4. The problem there is the base attack bonus is not based on your skills, it's based on your class. Now, for classes that have fast advancement, like fighters, they get 1 base attack bonus every turn. So a level 4 fighter is going to have a base attack bonus of a +4. And a decent fighter is also going to have a 16 to 18 strength. Well, 15 to 18 strength, really, I guess. No, 16. 16 to 18 strength. And so they should have a 3 to 4 bonus in their strength. Base attack bonus plus strength bonus is going to give them a 7 or 8 base attack bonus. And so every single time they try to stab this baby dragon with a knife, it's a coin toss whether they hit it or not. And then you let your players go ahead and do whatever they can to improve those odds. For your rangers, it's going to be their base attack bonus plus their dexterity bonus so they can shoot it with arrows. Your wizards, they have magic. So that's why this is a CR4 monster. Okay? Because you need to have those stats at level 4 in order to really stand a chance of fighting this thing. And that's not even getting into all the things that this thing can do to you. It has a +7 on its bite attack, and +7 on its claw attacks. What does that mean? In order for this thing to have a 50-50 shot at hitting your players are going to want to have a +7 in their armor class. And that is going to be determined by their dexterity modifier and whatever armor they're wearing. For your typical fighter, they're probably going to be want to be wearing medium to maybe heavy armor. Low dexterity bonus, but high armor bonus. Easily that can get them up to a +7. For your rangers, medium armor plus a higher dexterity can get them up to a +7. And for your squishies, like your wizards, they have magic. You know, things like mage armor. Plus, you have a high intelligence. Don't get bit. Stay out of the fight. That's how this is organized. And so you see how even a baby dragon can be a CR4. When we go back to the goblins, however... GG, there it is. Goblins have a CR of 1/3. Which means that this is not even a challenge for a level 1 party. In fact, it would take 3 goblins to make a challenge, an appropriate challenge for a level 1 party. But we're going to look into this. So let's take a look here. First off, it has an AC of 16. What does that mean? That means that your party is going to want to have an attack bonus of 6 just to hit this thing. That's actually a bit of a problem, because if you have a fighter at level 1 who has an 18 in their strength, that is only a +5 bonus. So at level 1, you will be having a slightly less than 50% chance of actually hitting this thing. Actually, it's more like a 45% chance. Close, but the odds are still against you. However, they only have... Or wait. Okay, no, yeah, that's right. Attacks, here we go. They have a +2 on their attack roll. Which means that if you have any kind of armor or really good dexterity, they also are at a bit of a disadvantage. However, when we get into like the actual damage that they're doing, goblins by default, and I mean I can change this up if I want to, but by default they come with a melee short sword, which does 1d4 and has an expanded critical. There is a 1 in 10 chance that they crit and do double damage. They have a ranged short bow with a +4. It does 1d4 damage also with a natural critical and a ×3 damage. This means that one goblin on its own is dangerous. However, it's still running the odds, because crits are pretty rare usually, unless it's the players in my Star Trek game, in which case then there's literally no other numbers on the dice. Anyway, but this is only a CR 1/3, which means that if I'm going to throw this up against a party of 4 level 1 adventurers, I'm going to be throwing not 1 goblin, but 3 of them. And so I have just tripled the number of attacks coming in. And you begin to understand that these fights, even against something like goblins at level 1, these are deadly. That's the only way that I can really phrase it. These are horrifically deadly fights. I mean, there is a reason why there are a lot of parties that wipe at level 1. Because if you're not smart, if you just run in, if you don't try to think of these things tactically, they will kill you. You get more latitude the higher you get in levels. When you have a bigger pool of hit points to draw from, when you have more tools available that you can use. But level 1 adventurers? Nah. Level 1 adventurers die all the time. And that kind of makes sense. When you think about a level 1 adventurer, what are you thinking of? You're thinking of somebody who is actually trained. I mean, if they're a fighter, they probably had some kind of mentor. If they're a ranger, they might have had some kind of mentor. If they're a wizard, they probably went to school. If they're a rogue, they might be part of a guild. All of these people have a certain level of training that makes them proficient, but that doesn't necessarily make them good. A lot of people die at level 1. So, now that we've established that this is how Pathfinder works, just vanilla, we can go back and we can look at our Pokemon. We have Pokemon that are dealing 1d40 damage with their regular attacks, and they might only have 1d4 hit points. That is going to turn that into a single stroke fight. PC Unicorn says it sounds like your typical Yu-Gi-Oh game. Coin flip, good game. I can't argue with that one. Now, I don't know that much about Yu-Gi-Oh, obviously. Nor do I intend to learn. I was never into it. I did a Magic the Gathering module. Be happy with that one. But I understand the concept. And that's kind of what this is going to come down to. It's going to come down to 2 Pokemon. It's going to come down to roll initiative, see who goes first, and then whoever goes first gets to attack. And if they hit, the battle's over. If they miss, the battle might be over. In fact, they might even be trading blows back and forth, missing every time until one of them eventually hits. But now again, here's the thing that I want to get into. I used my other players in the Star Trek game as my example, because several of them just passed 6,000 XP, which means that they're level 4 now. Ilera and Darwin, if you'll remember back to when I showed them, they're both level 4, they're over 6,000 XP, and Zirin is climbing closer, but he's still only level 3. I don't remember what his exact XP was. But I'm going to use the 6,000 mark as an example. At 6,000 XP, my players are level 4. But at 6,000 XP, my Pokemon would be level 35. So we really, really have to think about this. Again, Pound is going to do 40 points of damage. That's a lot. That is a single stroke battle. But actually, this is a really bad example. I'm not going to use this one. What I will use, and I need to pull this up real quick. I'm going to use the XP that I just gave them in the last game, because this is accumulation. I don't want accumulation. I want to talk about your Pokemon's first battle. Where was it? Right, there it is. 109 XP. I gave them 109. So 109 XP is going to put your Pokemon up to level 5. It's nothing to your players, okay? Your players don't care. 109 XP, they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. Wake me up when I level up. For your Pokemon, though, they just went from 0 to level 5. And from 0 to level 5 is going to be D4s. D4 plus 4 because they get that first they get their first full hit dice at level 1. 14 hit points. Okay? 14 hit points means that there is... Let's see, if Pound does 40 damage, there is a better than 30% chance that they get hit by Pound and survive it. And they survive long enough to hit the other one back. Which means that already we've turned a 1-stroke battle into potentially a 2-stroke battle. And the numbers are only going to go up. If I sent them up to 200, 200 will put them up to level 6. and 300 to put them all the way up to level 9. Well, no, level 8, I suppose. And so the number is going to keep going up. And it's going to go up at such a rate that your Pokemon are going to start out initially very, very weak. But they're going to develop fast enough that they will not be that weak for very long. And so I think that having this is going to be a good thing. Now, let's go ahead and use that example. I said at 6,000, you'd have a level 35 Pokemon. If we're using one of the starters, starters always evolve at level 16. So that's going to be 15d4 plus 4 is going to be 44 hit points. Okay? And I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. I'm going to put this right here. 44 hit points. Now, we just said that they are going to be level 35. I do believe that starter Pokemon evolve at 16 and 32. So that's going to be another 16 levels of D8s. $16 levels of D8s is going to come out to 79 hit points. So 79. And this is not even including any Constitution bonuses. And then 3 levels of D12s. That's another 15. And if we add all of these up, I'm going to use a calculator because I'm feeling lazy. That's going to be 44 plus 79 plus 15. It's 138. Now, suddenly, with 138 hit points, a power 40 move is still, significant. It's still dangerous, don't get me wrong. But it's not as dangerous as it was. You could take 3 of those moves at full power, 40 damage each, 3 times, and still have some HP left over. And your Pokemon did this they level up 35 times in the duration it took you to level up once. So, I think that's going to work. Now, they could use this 35 times a day. Eventually, something's going to hit. Somebody's going to go down at some point. Status effects, Pound doesn't have any. Saving throw, none, as far as I know. And perhaps the saving throws really only apply on the status effects. I'm not sure. Probably, actually. And then the number of uses is good, so there we go. That's a move. And that's not bad. We're going to pick a different one here, and we're going to go through this because that's a normal move. That's very basic. I want to take something that is different. Like, I know. I think I know anyway. Fire Punch. Now, does this have a secondary move? Or does it have a secondary effect? Fire, physical... Yes, it does. Okay, so like right here under the effect, it says Fire Punch does damage and has a 10% chance of burning the opponent. So this is going to be the first move that we look at that's going to have a status effect to it. It is still a physical move, but it's still there. So Fire Punch. Type is going to be Fire. Category is Physical. Range, it's a punch, so it's melee. The damage. It is a power 75 move. That is a 1d75 punch. Status effect. Burned. Now, here's how we're going to have to look at this, because this says there's a 10% chance of burning the opponent. We have a couple of options here. We could simply take this as it is and have it be a 10% chance. We could leave it that way. Or we can simply we can simply change it so that we can have a saving throw on that one. Now, I like using the saving throws, but that's also rewriting things that might not need to be rewritten. We'll have to wait and see. And Alden's here. Hello, Alden. Good to see you. Yes, you are late. What's up? What did you miss? You missed kind of a lot, actually. We're working on moves. We're working on how we're going to actually convert the moves from the games into this game. And you missed me giving a very, very long explanation on how challenge ratings work and why one-hit knockouts in a Pokemon match might not be quite so overblown. Mostly, I just pointed out that lots of level 1 characters die to goblins. Anyway, though. Saving throw for Fire Punch. I could calculate how a saving throw would equal 10%, but I can't calculate that for every character, so that's not going to work. Think. Maybe we just don't. Maybe we leave it as it is. What's another move that has a status chance on it? I bet actually, Thunder Punch is probably gonna be the same thing. It's probably gonna be paralyzed, but it's probably gonna be the same number. Sand Attack. If I remember this move correctly, this should have a chance to reduce accuracy. Let's see. Sand Attack decreases the target's accuracy stat by 1 step. It is a normal type move in generation, but is not affected by immunities to normal type. But there's no chance on that one, it just says it does. In the Gen 1 Core series, when an in-game opponent uses it, it has a 25% chance to fail. Okay, so that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for moves that have a chance to cause a secondary effect. Alden says Scald. Alright, taking a look. Scald inflicts damage, has a 30% chance of burning a target upon execution. Scald will thaw the user if frozen, even if the move fails to hit the target. So, roll a 1d10, and on a 1 through 3, it burns the target. I think that's the best way to go. I think instead of having a saving throw, we're going to go with a status chance. Alright, so, if we do that, and we replace that with status chance, then we can go ahead and just say this is Fire Punch, it's a fire type move. Physical, it's a melee attack, so that's the range, it's melee. The damage is 1d75, so like Again, using my party from our Star Trek game, the B team, this has a chance to kill literally everybody outright. Status effect is burn, of course, and the burn has a chance of 10%. And the PP, it has 15. Which, you know, judging by the number of uses it has, means that this is a reasonably powerful move, and the 1d75 is actually kind of well-deserved. But there we go. There's that. So, category... there's only 3 categories here. This can be physical, special, or stats. That's all there is to that. Range is something that we really have to determine. Status effect is going to be the primary or secondary, or this is going to be the non-damaging effect. Well, no, I can't even say that because burn is a damaging effect. Status effect is just status effect. I'm just going to say C move. Also C move. And PP is going to be uses per day. And the range, again, range is one of those things that we're going to have to, we're going to have to just work on that. I've done a status move here, though, although we still need to finish this one off. And the problem is that, again, I still don't know what attack is going to be. So when it says that it does more damage by attack, let's see if we can get some inspiration here. Stat modifier. Stage multipliers. Yes, yes, yes. Accuracy. No. Done by certain moves, certain held items. I'm just going to click on attack here. And I'm sure this is going to be a very complicated damage calculation. C damage calculation. Oh, this is going to get ugly very quickly. Wear a helmet. Okay, damage calculation in Gen 1. Damage equals 2 times level times critical divided by 5 plus 2 times power times attack divided by defense, all this divided by 50 plus 2 times stab times times type 1 times type 2 times any random effect. I hate this. I really do. This is the one part of every game that gets me, because, like, even if I'm playing a game like Guild Wars 2, I like Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is a fun game. If you haven't played it, you should try it. But even Guild Wars 2, when you go to look into some of the calculations that are running behind the screen, no, it's awful. It's just plain awful. Let's see. Where's the damage calculation for 9? That's Arceus. Okay, Gen 5 onward. I guess they've been using the same one ever since Gen 5. It is damage equals 2 times level divided by 5 plus 2 times power times attack divided by defense, all this divided by 50 plus 2 times the number of targets times PB, whatever that is, times weather times glaive rush times critical times random number generator times stab times type times burn times other times Z move times Terra shield. There's just no way. There's just no way that I can work with that. So, what can we do? What can we do to make this better? Because that is absolutely just god-awful, and I don't want to. What if, and I'm just throwing things out here, what if we made it an advantage roll? No, I'm serious. This could work. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we already know that we have a track here. Okay, I'm just gonna move everything down a little bit so that I can put this up here. I'm gonna use the format painter to paint this up here. And we're just going to go -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And we'll just center these so they look a little bit nicer. That is not 1d40, that is just 1. What if we use this in terms of advantages? So let's say that you use Home Clause, okay? And Home Clause is going to increase your attack by 1. Because that's what it says it does. It increases your accuracy by 1, increases your attack by 1. We already established that if it increases your attack by 1, it's going to increase your attack roll. So if you had a 1d20 plus... I don't know. I don't think the Pokemon even really have a base attack bonus. If they do, then they have a base attack bonus. It's going to be their level divided by 5. So let's just say that we use our level 35 example. 6,000 XP. That's going to be a +7. So 1d20 plus 7. And then... I think I said that if it's a physical attack, it's going to use their strength bonus, and if it's a special attack, it uses their dexterity? Or their intelligence. It would have been their intelligence. Yeah. It's their intelligence. Okay, so either way, it'll be their attack roll. Then we get to the damage. So we'll go ahead and we'll use the Fire Fist example. 1d75. So let's say that you have a Dark Fire type, and off the top of my head, I can't think of a Dark Fire type, but I know they exist. So you use Home Clause, and then you go to use Fire Fist. So you use Home Clause, and then increases your damage by 1. Then you go to use Fire Fist. You attack, you hit. Now comes the damage. We're going to go with a 2d75 here. But we're not going to add them together. We're going to simply take the better one. And so I rolled the dice. I rolled 1d75. I rolled a 31 and a 19. And so, by giving advantage... I've simply made it now that it's going to do the 31 damage, pow, done. And then roll 1d10. For the status effect, no burn. And Alden says Houndoom. Yeah, right there. Houndoom is a Dark Fire type, or a Fire Dark type, either way. Although I don't think Houndoom learns Fire Fist, but who cares? So there we go. Now, how does this get really crazy? Well, if we come over here and look at... let's see, that's moves. I want to look at... Where was that? Stages. Attack stages. Let's see. Belly drum. That's a move that I'm familiar with. Let's see. Alden also says Incineroar then. Okay, Incineroar. That's a starter. Which means it's a fire type, and then it becomes a fire dark. So yeah, there you go. Belly drum though. Reduces their HP by half, maximizes their attack rating by raising it to the +6 stage, even when the user's temporary attack bonuses were below 0. So yeah, by using Belly Drum, essentially, we would increase it to the +6, which means that they would get 6 times advantage. So instead of doing this twice, I guess that's why Belly Drum gets so abused. So, if you were to Belly Drum, and then you were to use Fire Fist, you would get to roll your damage 6 times and take the best result. Which in this case, since I sorted them, it's going to be 69 damage. That is significant. Like, horrifyingly so. At the same time, though, it's not entirely unfair. Because I kind of think that works well. I don't know, what do you think? Does giving advantage for every step along the path work? It caps out at 6, so this is like literally the worst that it could get. And we still only got a 69 out of 75. Which is great, don't get me wrong. But that's also a very, very specific circumstance. Belly Drum is a terrifyingly broken move, but it's also kind of the only one like it. Otherwise, Fell Stinger. It inflicts damage, it causes a Pokemon to faint, the user's attack stat rises by 2 stages. Okay, but if your opponent faints, then what good does that do you? Anyway, so the attack stat by, or raise attack by, if it causes the target Pokemon to faint. Yeah, I mean, this is not all that useful, but it does say that it will increase your stat by 3, which means that, I guess if you were in a doubles match, which is the only way that I can see this being useful, it has a power of 50, so let's say that you actually manage to knock somebody out with it, you go to use it again, and on your next attack, it's 3d50. And hey, we even rolled a 50, so that paid off. Alden says, Fell Stinger is good for snowballing. Oh no, I get it. Okay, I see. So we're not talking about like a random match here. We're not talking about wild Pokemon that you might come across on the road. We're talking about an actual trainer fight where you would have to fight multiples at one time. No, that makes sense. I get that now. I don't know why I didn't consider that before, but that makes sense. I feel kind of dumb now. But end result is still the same. It's all good. I think I like the way that works. It might be a little bit on the powerful side, but I think it could work. I think it also gives a really good incentive to actually use these, because I might be the oddball here. I did not use status moves a whole lot. I'm not going to say that they were useless. I would never say they were useless. But like every Pokemon when they start off starts with an attack move and a status move. Now, all of the attack moves are basically the same thing. They are bite or scratch or tackle or something like that. They all have different names, but they all do the same thing. They are all a physical power 40 move. Now, the status moves that they get are all different. Some get one that will up your attack, some will up your defense, some will lower their attack, and some will lower their defense. And we can even look at this from the other perspective, because I'm looking right here at all of the moves that are going to take them up. But if we come over here and look at moves that will take them down, Growl. Super simple. Normal type move, Gen 1. All Growl does, and this is why I don't really use it, Growl decreases the attack stat of all adjacent opponents by 1 stage. Okay? 1 stage. So we're going from 1 to -1. But if this is advantage, this is disadvantage. And so, let's say that you're up against this Pokemon that has Fire Fist, and you use Growl. Okay. You use Growl, they use Fire Fist, now they have to roll twice and take the worst. They rolled a 75, but must now take a 63. Is it significant? It's very significant. But, I mean, it sure as hell beats the other one. And if you could even reduce them down to the -6, rolling it again, they rolled a 73 as their maximum value. They rolled a 4. So, by just stacking disadvantage on your opponents, that could be, like... I'm actually a little concerned it might be overpowered. I'm a little concerned about that. Because what happens if we end up in a fight where we have 2 Pokemon that have both managed to completely negate each other's rolls by stacking disadvantage on them? Just growl, 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 growl. And now, nobody can do any damage. To be fair, I suppose that's actually how it works in the games. If you have 2 Pokemon trainers who have trained their Pokemon to debuff each other, eventually you'll end up with 2 Pokemon that just do minimal damage to each other, and it comes down to either who runs out of HP first or who runs out of moves first. I don't know, I feel like this works. Alright, so I'm going to say that it's going to, or the attack is going to advance physical moves, and the special attack is going to advantage special moves. JP says it's who gets exhausted last. I guess so. Alden says it's an interesting way to balance the stat changes, and yeah, it's not that different from regular Pokemon battles. I don't know, I don't play Pokemon competitively, nor do I watch Pokemon competitively, so I don't know that much about it, but from what I do understand, it could absolutely function that way. So now that we've got that done, with attack advancing physical, special attack advancing special, we can get back to Hone Claws. So with Hone Claws, the status effect is +1 attack and accuracy. Which means that if you use Hone Claws, what's going to happen? It's going to move your attack and accuracy up to 1, And it also means that we're going to need to have a listing here for every Pokemon. Because if we go ahead and we use Hone Claws, you use your Hone Claws, there's no chance that it can miss, there's really no chance that this can fail, and so you're going to use it on yourself, and so your attack is going to be +1, and then accuracy is going to be +1. And then you'll simply reference up here to say, what does that give me? Accuracy is a +1 on my attack roll, and attack is going to be +1 advantage for my physical attacks. Which means that, true to the game, if you use Growl on somebody and you lower their attack, this should do nothing for their special attack. So coming up here, Growl is, super simple, super easy. It's right up there. But Razor Wind, normal type move, but special. You can growl at somebody, and then they should be able to just bring out the Razor Wind, and should have no problem at all. Alden says, by the way, what is the effect of the defense changes? That's actually super easy. So defense changes is going to be an addition to your armor class or kinetic armor class. And so it's going to be entirely dependent on what you get. And in this case, it means that your armor class could go up by anywhere from 1 to 6 points, which is kind of huge. You said examples given: Defense Curl, Iron Defense, or Harden. Let's see which one of those I can find first. Harden, I think, is a rock-type move. Normal, grass, fighting, electric, ground. I'm sorry, there were rock types in Gen 1, weren't there? Like, I'm almost certain there were rock types. Where are they? There it is. There's a rock. That's Rollout, though. Sandstorm. Wow, they're actually really hard to see. Did I miss them? Oh, I did miss them, actually. There's Rock Slide. There's Rock Throw. Okay, I didn't see it. Harden. Oh, it's a normal move. I did not expect that. Harden. So the user's defense rises by 1 stage. And so that's it. It just rises by 1 stage. So you use Harden, and it's going to go from a 0 to a 1, and so you'll get a +1 on your armor class or kinetic armor class. I should probably also add here that special defense is going to be your will save and your energy armor class, just in case we're doing this in Starfinder. Let's see. Alden says most of the Pokemon that get it are just bug types sitting in their cocoons. That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, it's just going to increase your armor class, and you can keep using it, and your armor class will keep going up. And yeah, I seem to remember bug types in their cocoons doing that, and that's all they do, is they just harden, 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 harden. And so after 6 levels of hardening, that's a +6 AC. Do you realize how few things there are in Pathfinder or Starfinder that give you a +6 AC? It's kind of insane. Like, that's heavy armor territory. Literally. If I come over here to the Archive of Nephis, let's see. Alden says, is kinetic armor for special defense? No. So in Pathfinder, you only have your armor class. The same thing is true for Dungeons and Dragons. You only have your armor class, and that's because, by and large, the things that you're fighting are either going to be bows and arrows, swords, axes, clubs, things like that, or magic. And magic, by and large, does not care about your armor. If you get hit with a Ray of Frost, it is going to do its damage regardless of what armor you're wearing, which is why most of your spells are touch attacks. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, so long as they can hit you with the spell does damage. Starfinder, however, is different. And it is different in that there are a lot more weapons, and there's a lot more than just bows, arrows, hammers, and axes. In Starfinder, you have guns. Now, some of the guns shoot regular slugs and things like that. Some of them shoot lasers, some of them shoot fire, some of them shoot electricity, all kinds of stuff. So you have a kinetic armor class that is going to protect you from all of the physical injuries. That's slashing, piercing, bludgeoning. And then an energy armor class, which is going to be fire, cold, electric, acid, and sonic. And so that's why I'm putting that in, because with the special attacks, a lot of your special attacks are things that want to just kind of ignore your regular armor anyway, which is why Pokemon have a special defense and a regular defense. Well, Starfinder basically has the same thing built in as well, a regular defense and an energy defense. If we're playing in Pathfinder, we can ignore that and just have it all roll together into armor. But if we're playing in Starfinder, we can differentiate those. Now, by and large, your Pokemon's energy armor class is going to be pretty much the same as its regular armor class anyway. But we can always we can tweak that if we need to. Anyway, though, a +6 on armor. If I go into light armor, you have to get into a, let's see, a level 6 armor before you start seeing a 6 armor class. Which is, you know, decently high level armor. For heavy armor, you get that a lot earlier. For heavy armor with a +6, you'll get that at roughly level 4, give or take. And so that's the equivalent of just using Harden 6 times. With the exception that, you know, it goes away at the end of the fight. Or maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. We haven't really thought about durations yet. I'm not sure how long any of this is going to last. Like, how long does a burn last? How long does something like Harden last? In fact, let's do that while we're sitting here. I'm almost out of time anyway today. I'm going to put that right there. Also, we're going to finish up Hone Claws. The status chance for this, 100%. Because, like, it literally can't fail. And Hone Claws gets how many uses per day? Where was that? It was like 480 something? There it is. 15 uses per day. Okay, Alden says that it lasts until the Pokemon gets swapped out or the battle ends, and that is true for a Pokemon game. For us, the battle doesn't really end, or at least things don't really work like that. Every spell and every effect has a predetermined duration. Now, sometimes it's a static duration, it will only last for so long. Sometimes it is variable depending on your level. But everything has a set duration. And I have not done that yet. But real quickly, because I'm almost out of time here, we're going to go through and we're going to do harden. And then next week, we're going to continue working on this. So, harden. The type is a status move. Category is... Well, no, type is normal, excuse me. Normal. Category is status. Range is self. Damage is none. Status effect is going to be +1 defense. Status chance is 100%. And it has 30 uses per day. And just like that, I mean, that should be good. That should be how easy all of these are to put in. That's why we're doing this system the way we're doing it. This is how easy it should be. We should be able to look at your Pokemon, see what the move is, and then just copy it down in a mini sheet like this. And then we can just start adding in the next one. And I already think this is working out really well. This is working out really well. We could sit here and actually go through and make a Pokemon. Like, pick a Pokemon and we should be able to make up its entire thing. And you know what? Maybe we will. Because, I'm just going to... I'm gonna roll a die here. Alright, I'm going to roll a D100, and I got a 9. Yay, level 9. And Sky is in the chat. Hello, Sky. Good to see you. You came in right at the end. Okay, I'm going to... pull up Sprigatito, just because I like Sprigatito. And so Sprigatito at level 9 is going to have what? Sprigatito will have Scratch, Tail Whip, Leafage, Bite, and exactly 1 level away from Hone Claws. So only 4 moves. So Sprigatito. And then we can just go ahead and... Come on. There we go. We'll paste in the 4 of these. And what does Sprigatito get? Scratch. And Tail Whip. And Leafage. And Bite. And so just running through these really quickly, it's going to be normal, normal, grass, dark. The categories are going to be physical, status, physical, physical. Range. This is Scratch is going to be melee. Tail Whip. Well, let's see. Tail Whip is not. Tail Whip decreases the defense stat of all adjacent Pokemon by 1 stage. Now, interestingly, here's something that we can consider. There is a range thing right here that applies in multiple Pokemon battles. And when it says adjacent, they literally mean adjacent, as in anything that is 1 space away. This guy over here, not in range. Which means that when we look at the range for Tail Whip, we could also call this melee. Now, Leafage. If we look into leafage, it's an attack move. However, this does not say a whole lot about it. It says the user attacks by pelting the target with leaves. This seems to be our first actual ranged attack. So we'll need to get one for that. And then bite, of course, could be melee. I don't have the answer for the range on leafage yet. We'll have to get into that next time. Scratch does not have a status effect, and so that doesn't happen. And it has 35 uses. Tail Whip has no damage. Oh, I forgot that. Tail Whip is going to be 1d40. Or Scratch is 1d40. Tail Whip has no damage. The status effect, however, is going to be -1 defense. The status chance on that, I assume, is going to be 10%. And the number of uses on that is 30. For leafage, the damage on that is going to be 1d40. As far as I know, there's no status on that. And that has 40 uses. And Bite is our dark type move. It has power 60. Now, is there a status effect with Bite? So, Bite inflicts damage, has a 10% chance of causing the target to flinch. Yes, it does. Status effect is Flinch. Now, what is Flinch? Flinch just means that the other Pokemon does not get to take their turn. Well, we already have a status effect for that. It's called Daze. And there's a 10% chance for that. And it only has 25 uses. And so there we go. It doesn't look as clean and pretty, but right there, that is a level 9 Sprigatito. And so you could absolutely take the Sprigatito into a fight right now, except for, with the exception of Leafage, because we don't have a range for that yet. But you have everything you need here to run a fight between two Pokemon. And we already have everything we need to make their character sheet, so we'll combine that character sheet with this, and now you have all of your stats, all of your attacks. The only thing that's missing then would be to have a space for held items or anything like that, and we're done. Super simple. But okay, that's going to have to do it for today, because I'm already over time here. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. I think that once we figure out how we're going to range these things, it'll be quite usable. Figuring out that range is going to be a bit difficult, though. I think the range may have to be something tied to their level. So at the higher level they get, the further they can reach. And so we'll divide everything into melee and ranged, which it kind of already is. And then range will simply be how far can you reach. And bigger, tougher, stronger, older Pokemon will have longer reach than younger, newer, squishier ones. I don't know. We'll work on it next time. But it gives us something to look forward to. It gives us something to look forward to. Okay, so this was fun. This was good. This was productive. I'm feeling good about where we are now. I feel good about where we're going to be next week when we get back to this. After that, I I don't know where we're going. So, like, if you have ideas of what we need to be doing next, I am more than welcome to hear them. I mean, we got the Pokemon, we got stat conversions, trait conversions. We haven't really looked at the traits yet. Can look at them. We're working on moves right now. Still got to do the capture system. Still need to work on a map system. Still got to go through items. Yeah, there's a lot for us to do still. There's a lot to do. We'll get into it next time. So, if you want to be here for that, again, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, that way you get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who is also into Pokemon or tabletop games in general, share this video with them. But if you just like me, you like what I'm doing, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below, because that's what the comments are there for. However, if that's not good enough for you, and come on, let's be honest, that's not good enough for you, you deserve better. Go down into all the links. There's a link for the Discord. Join the Discord. And then once you're there, you can come to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what games you're interested in, what your availability is. And once you've done that, we can play. Come on, I need more people. I want to play. So, join us there, or join us next week. Either way, I will see you then. And until that time, take care.